Okay, we're going to start the second day of our orders of operations and word problems with integers lesson. First, I'm going to go over the assignment from yesterday so that you can figure out why you might have gotten something wrong. So the first part was to circle the part of the equation that you would complete first. First expression says -4 times 32 plus 6. So if we look at our order, there's no parentheses, no exponents. There is multiplication and division. So that would be the first part that we would need to do. Next one says the sum of 6 plus 2 minus 15 divided by 5 times 2. And if we go back to our order parentheses, there is parentheses in here. So we need to do that first. Next one says 3 times -2. This is actually to the power of 3. The type didn't transfer over when I copied it. So 3 times -2 to the power of 3 divided by 6. First part's parentheses. There's no operations in this parentheses. These parentheses are in here because this is an exponent, which is next in our order. So this is the part that needs to be done first. Then you had to solve two problems. Our first one was 42 divided by -6 plus 5. There's no parentheses. There's no exponents. There is multiplication or division. So 42 divided by -6 is the first part that needs to be solved. 42 divided by 6 is 7. Positive divided by a negative is negative. And then we bring down plus 5. -7 plus 5. Different signs find the difference. So 7 minus 5 is 2. Answer gets the sign of the larger number. So our answer is -2. The next one over here says 9 divided by 3 plus 7 times 4 divided by 2. There's no parentheses, there's no exponents, there is multiplication and division, so we're going to do it in order from left to right. First part we do is 9 divided by 3, which is 3. Bring down plus 7 times 4 divided by 2. Start at the top again. There's no parentheses. There's no exponents. There is multiplication and division. So we're going to go in order again. And first thing we see left to right is 7 times 4. So we bring down the 3 plus in front. 7 times 4 is 28. And bring down divided by 2. We look at our order again. There's no parentheses, no exponents. There's still multiplication or division in here. And we have 28 divided by 2. So bring down the 3 plus. 28 divided by 2 is 14. And our last problem, 3 plus 14 is 17. So let's do some more orders of operations today with integers. We're going to look at some that have added parentheses and exponents into it. First, you're going to do your do now. So you're going to do a review of exponents, and then I'll go over the answers. Our first problem is 2 to the power of 4. If we write out that multiplication, it's 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8, times 2 is 16. Next one says -5 to the power of 2. The exponent applies to everything inside of the parentheses, so we're multiplying -5 times -5. 5 times 5 is 25. Negative times a negative is a positive. Down here we have -3 to the power of 3. The 3 only applies for the exponent to the base of 3. So this negative sign gets moved out front. And then we have 3 times 3 times 3. 3 times 3 is 9, times 3 is 27, and we bring down that negative sign in front. And the last one to the power, the last one says 0 to the power of 10. Well, 0 times anything is always 0. Okay, let's take a look at these orders of operation problems. And just a reminder, when we talk about orders of operations, we do parentheses and then exponents and then multiplication and division in order from left to right, and then addition and subtraction in order from left to right. So our first problem is right here, and first thing I always do is I go through and I add a line, change the sign for anywhere I see a subtraction or a negative sign. So this is what the new problem looks like. 3 times the sum of 4 plus negative 7 plus 6. I can neaten this up a little bit so we don't have that double positive sign in there. And I can move those parentheses out because they're not needed anymore. So then when I look at my orders of operations, parentheses. So when we look at our problem inside the parentheses, we have 4 plus negative 7. Different signs find the difference. So 4 plus negative 7 is 3, and that becomes a negative 3. This 3 out front of parentheses means multiplication. So we're going to bring it down just like that again. And at the end, we need our plus 6. Going back to our orders of operations again, parentheses. We have parentheses, but there's no operations or no math inside of there to do. So this parenthesis signals multiplication. So there's no parentheses, no exponents. We just said there is multiplication. We have 3 times negative 3. 3 times 3 is 9. Positive times a negative is negative. And then bring down our plus 6. So our last part is negative 9 plus 6. Different signs find the difference. So 9 minus 6 is 3. Answer gets the sign of the larger value. So our final answer is negative 3. Okay, taking a look at our next problem over here. Again, I'm going to go through. Anywhere I see a subtraction, I'm going to add a line, change the sign so I know that it's adding a negative. So I have negative 7 plus negative 3 times the sum of 4 plus negative 5. Looking at our orders of operations, first thing is parentheses, and in this we see inside the parentheses 4 plus negative 5. 4 plus negative 5, different signs find the difference. So 5 minus 4 is 1. Answer gets the sign of the larger value. I need to bring everything else down, and since I have 3 number right outside the parentheses, it's multiplication, so I'm going to put that back in there, and then plus the negative 7 out front. We look at our orders of operations again. Parentheses, this parentheses signifies multiplication. It's a number, then the parentheses. So that's not really parentheses. Then we have exponents. We don't have any of those. So multiplication and division. And we said our multiplication problem right here. Negative 3 times negative 1. 3 times 1 is 3. Negative times a negative is a positive. So then we just need to bring everything down that goes in front. Now our math problem says negative 7 plus 3. Different signs find the difference. So 7 minus 3 is 4. Answer gets the sign of the larger number. So our answer is negative 4. Okay, here's two more examples, and these ones look like they have parentheses inside of them. So again, anywhere I see subtraction, I always like to add a line, change the sign to change it into adding the opposite. So we have to be careful when we do it to this second one over here, because this has an exponent attached that still needs to be attached to the negative sign. So we're going to put that adding a line, changing the sign outside there. Let's go back to the first problem. First one says -2 to the power of 3 plus 5. Parentheses here are all just around numbers to make sure you see their signs. But our exponent that we have to deal with is -2 to the power of 3. This exponent applies to everything inside here. So our multiplication problem is -2 times -2 times -2. -2 times -2 is +4 times -2. So our answer here is -8. And then we have +5 that we bring down. Different signs, find the difference. -8 plus 5. 8 minus 5 is 3. Answer gets the sign of the larger number. This answer is -3. Okay, looking at this problem over here, there's no parentheses except to make sure we highlight what the integer is, but there is exponents, and we have -2 to the power of 2 over here. Well, that multiplication problem is -2 times -2, which is +4. Then we had a minus that we added a line, changed the sign to, so that becomes plus a -4, and the 7 goes out front. So our problem now says 7 plus -4. Different signs, find the difference. So 7 minus 4 is 3. Answer gets the sign of the larger value. So our answer is +3. Here's two problems for you to try, and then we will go over the answers. Okay, let's take a look at the answers for these two problems. First one is -8 times the difference of 2 minus 6 divided by 2. Looking at our orders of operations, the first thing we need to do is parentheses, which we do have right here. 2 minus 6. We're going to add a line, change the sign, so it is 2 plus -6. Different signs, find the difference, so 6 minus 2 is 4. Answer gets the sign of the larger value, so we have a -4. We have a -8 out front of these parentheses, so again, that is multiplication, so we're going to make sure to show that, and then divided by 2 at the end here. Okay, we have a new math expression here. We're going to go back to the top of our orders of operations, parentheses. There's no operations in the parentheses. Exponents, there's no exponents. Multiplication and division. So if we look at the problem in order from left to right, we have -8 times -4. 8 times 4 is 32. Negative times a negative is positive. So we have 32, then we need to bring down the divided by 2. And 32 divided by 2 is 16. And the second one over here, we have -2 to the power of 3 minus a -5. So there's no parentheses that have operations inside of it. This is just an integer inside of these parentheses. This is an integer inside these parentheses. But we do have exponents. We have -2 to the power of 3. The negative 2 to the power of 3, if we write out the multiplication, is negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2. Negative 2 times negative 2 is 4, times negative 2 gives us a negative 8. And then we have minus the negative 5. If I add a line, change the sign right there, that becomes plus 5. Negative 8 plus 5, different signs, find the difference. 8 minus 5 is 3. Answer gets the sign of the larger value, so our answer is negative 3.